Hey guys, welcome back to Hype RC. In today's video, we finally got in our Redcat Ascent 18. Now, FedEx had this thing hopscotching all over the United States, so it took a lot longer to get in than anticipated. But we're going to go ahead and do a box stock run on this rig anyways. We're going to see what comes out of the box. Now, I did order a bunch of the upgrades with this as well, and I've got more upgrades showing up this week. So in the future, we're going to do a heavily modified version of this rig. But let's see what it can do box stock, see if there's any free upgrades we can do on this rig. Let's get over to the bench and check it out. All right, guys, let's go ahead and take an up-close look at what comes out of the box with the Redcat Ascent 18. We're going to start off with the remote. So this is a very nice Dumbo-style looking remote. Redcat labeling on here. So it does come with steering trim, throttle trim, steering dual rate. You can reverse both the servo and the throttle on here, on-off switch. Very easily one-handed drivable. Very nice RTR remote. This does take 4 AA batteries that do not come with the remote, so you're going to want to have those on hand. It also looks like we get a USB-C charger for the battery. It comes with a set of body posts in case you want to change out the body, but after seeing this red, this thing is absolutely awesome. We're definitely sticking with that on this rig. You can also put on this decal set that is very nice for the truck, and then it comes with basically a user's startup manual. Now you can go ahead and download a full owner's manual right here, but that is a very nice, very easy way to keep the cost down on this rig. And for $100, this thing is absolutely awesome. So let's go ahead and take an up-close look at the rig itself. All right, guys, here she is, the Redcat Ascent 18 in red. I went ahead and took the liberty of decaling mine up to give it a different appearance than everybody else's, but this is done very well. Now, Redcat does a very basic body on most of their rigs, but I really like the Ascent body. I like these fender flares, like the little details of the door handles. We have low profile bumpers on the front and rear, just a sticker for the headlights here on the front, but very nice. I like these smoked out windows, very low profile bumper on the rear as well. We have some hard molded details on the back that say Redcat, and I love the fact that this is a clipless body. It looks like we have 60mm tires. These actually feel very sticky. Now the foam feels a little bit firm in there to me, but these are glued on, so basically if you're going to want to get these off, you would have to heat these off because these are not beadlock wheels. They are glued on to those, but all in all, this is very sharp. I love the fact that it is a clipless body. I am so tired of the old school clips on most of these rigs, and not having to fumble around with those is a huge benefit to me. So let's go ahead and take a look underneath the hood on this rig. All right, guys, so to get the body off on your Redcat Ascent 18, there is a small clip on the rear of the vehicle right here that you turn 90 degrees like that. And what that allows you to do is to either hinge the body up, or if you have it in the forward location, you can go ahead and slide the body completely off. This is a very thick Lexan, and I am extremely impressed with how thick this is for such a small rig. This thing looks like it's going to take a lot of wear and tear in the future. So let's go ahead and start off the electronics on this rig. So we do have a 180 large brush motor and a 2-in-1 ESC on the rear of the vehicle. This is also a 2S 750 milliamp battery. We also have a large 4-kilogram servo. This thing is actually pretty stiff on turning the front wheel, so I think it's going to actually be very nice. Now, the one impressive thing to me about this rig is that this is the only rig in crawling that's 18th scale that has full ball bearings throughout. Every other rig that I have to completely tear down and replace all those bushings with bearings, and I don't know how they got it done at this price, $120 normal and $100 on sale right now. We also have an aluminum chassis, multiple mounting locations for the shocks on the front and rear. Now, these are big bore oil-filled shocks, which is very nice. Let's go ahead and take a look underneath. So this is 4-link front and rear. We do have plastic drive shafts. These are portal axles on the front and rear as well. This is very nice. It looks like we have some boat tail sliders, which is a very nice detail right out of the box on this rig. So let's go ahead and get a few batteries charged up and get this guy out for a crawl. All right, guys, so before we do any modifications or anything to our Redcat Ascent 18, I wanted to get a box stock weight on it, and this thing is completely balanced front to back and left to right. So we have 50% in the front, 50% in the rear, and 50% left to right on this rig, which is nice other than the fact this is a crawler. So we really want to try to get 60% up front. So we just wanted to get a factory weight on it. This is with the battery in. Now I'm going to go ahead and do some easy free upgrades to this rig, and then we'll weigh it again. All right, guys, after doing all those free upgrades and moving the electronics to the front of the rig, we actually did see a gain. We have 52% in the front, and we are still 50-50 left to right. So that is a nice free 2% upgrade to get a little more forward biased on this rig. All right, guys, I had an absolute blast getting out there and running the new Redcat Ascent 18. This thing performed absolutely amazing. Matter of fact, it outperformed a lot of my stock TRX4Ms, and I'm very impressed with that right out of the box. So let's go ahead and talk about the pros and the cons on this rig. So the number one pro for me on this is absolutely the price. Even at $120, this thing is a steal for that price. But if you can get in on the introductory price of $99, hands down one of the best deals in RC today. But let's go over the physical attributes of this rig. So the number one pro for me on this is absolutely the fact that it comes with ball bearings throughout. That is something that I don't have to go in and tear the entire rig down and replace all those bushings with bearings. I'm extremely impressed that they got it down to this price level with those bearings in there. Next is the oil-filled shocks. It's the first time I've seen this style of shocks on an 18th scale rig, and they performed absolutely amazing. So I'm extremely impressed with them. I checked the oil levels and they were all just fine. Next is the fact that this chassis comes up very high over the top of the servo. That way they're not trying to squeeze a horizontal servo between those chassis rails. That is very nice, because a lot of rigs that you end up having to, you have that problem. It either ends up running into the chassis, or you have to end up really kind of clipping and trimming the top part of your servo to get it to articulate between there. With this style of chassis, that is a non-issue. I wish the chassis would have had a few more mounting locations for the shocks, but all in all, it performed very well. Next is the tires. These things are some of the best RTR tires I've seen in a long time. They aren't like top notch, but they're definitely not bottom of the barrel either. So if you're buying this rig and don't want to drop a whole lot of money into it, you definitely don't have to run out and replace those tires right off the bat. Next is the electronics in this. So I like the fact that it came with the bigger motor. It performed very well, and I really like the 4 kilogram servo on the front of this. I'm not going to run out and replace that anytime soon. It's one of the better RTR servos I've seen on an 18 scale rig so far. Next, I like the fact that this is a clipless body. I hate fighting and fumbling with those little body clips. It is a real pain in the butt. But all in all, I think this rig has performed very, very well. Next, let's go ahead and talk about the cons. So the number one con on this rig is absolutely the drag brake, especially on a decline. It is an underperformer in that category, and that is not something you want on your crawler. I have a few upgrades in mind to go ahead and fix that, but as far as box stock goes, it is an underperformer in the drag brake area, which is not good for a crawler. Next is the weight biased on this thing. So 50-50 left to right is absolutely great, but 50-50 front to rear is not good. Even moving the electronics up front on this rig, we did increase that to 52. But box stock, you're definitely going to need to add weight to the front of this rig. Next is the fact that this thing is geared very high for a crawler. Right now, there are no low crawl gears for this. Again, I've got an upgrade in mind to go ahead and fix that. I've even bought the metal gears for this, but the overall gear ratio on this is very high for a crawler. Next is the fact that the upgrades that they do have out for this are pretty pricey, you know, $30, $40, $50 for, you know, links and then brass up front. That is pretty darn expensive, but at least they have those available at release. So if you do want to go ahead and spend a little bit of the extra money that you're going to have for this rig and you want them now, you can go ahead and do that, but they do cost a little bit of money. Now let's go ahead and talk about the 5 free upgrades for this rig. So let's go ahead and take an up-close look at the 5 free upgrades for your Redcat Ascent 18. We're going to start off with number 5, and that's going to be to go ahead and trim this body. So under full articulation on the front and the rear of this vehicle, it grabs those fender flares really bad. Now, I thought they were really cool looking, but the fact that they were grabbing on the wheels as bad as they did, we had to go ahead and trim those off. Next is going to be to go ahead and trim the front bumper as well, because under full turn and articulation, it really grabs that hard plastic front bumper and really hurts your performance on this rig. Next, let's get underneath the hood on this. So you're going to want to take your shocks and move them to the most inward location on the front and rear of your vehicle, which is going to lower the center of gravity and help you on inclines with this. Next is going to be to go ahead and move the ESC from the rear of the vehicle up front. We actually gained an extra 2% of forward bias with this one easy upgrade. But the number one upgrade for your Redcat Ascent is going to be to go ahead and raise this skid plate. So Redcat actually has an extra set of holes in here. Now you're going to have to remove the 2 middle screws here, but they actually have an extra set of holes to raise these links. But instead of raising the links, I raised the entire skid plate. And as you can tell, that makes the bottom of this vehicle very flat, which is going to definitely help your performance and lower the entire center of gravity of the vehicle with one movement. Now, moving all these links and the skid plate at the same time is a little bit of a trick, but with a little bit of time and patience, you can definitely get it done and lower the entire center of gravity of your rig, which is a huge improvement on performance for this rig. So let's go ahead and get back over to the table and finish up the review on this. So all in all, this rig actually performed very well, especially on the inclines, and it gets an 8 out of 10 for me. But the reason it minuses a few points off the top is the fact that it has too high of a gear ratio and that drag brake is terrible. On crawling, those are two things that you really need, and this is a crawler. But I think with a few upgrades, we can really address those issues and get this thing competing very well with the rest of the 18th scale rigs out there. So Redcat has done a great job with this. It just needs a little bit of help. So don't forget to support your local hobby shops. Bash, crawl, repeat. Hit that subscribe and like button for me and ring the bell so you can catch my next video. We'll see you next time.